I am wondering, as you saw that video of Tyreek Hill being pulled over by the cops before a Dolphin game, as you saw that video play, Carl, what were your thoughts?
There were two things that came to mind, Stugotz, and both of them can be true. One, Tyreek was a bit of a jerk himself, sort of the hubris of being a well-paid athlete right outside of the stadium. Come on, man, just give me the ticket so I go on my way. Not rolling the window down. Normal things that you would expect that a lawful citizen who's not a star wide receiver would do. But at the same time, the officer overreacted and used excessive force, and it was clear. Cops are trained to deal with motorists who sometimes are uncooperative or sometimes are jerks. And you saw the power dynamic that is unfortunately so much of the part of old school police officers. When I tell you to do something, you do it. Pulling him down to the ground just to exert his dominance and power. And Stugotz, I'm going to say it. I dare say if it had been a fair-skinned athlete in the same circumstance, I'm not certain that the exercise of power would have been the same way. And it is regrettable that still in 2024 in America, I'm still not certain that if it had been the kicker or one of the linemen in that same circumstance, that there would not have been a far different reaction and response from the officer. Because when this black kid was a jerk, the officer overreacted, and regrettably, the other officers that were also there didn't step in. They have an obligation as well because they protect and serve to step in and tell the cop to chill out or to relax or to try to de-escalate. When they saw Calais Campbell coming on, putting him in handcuffs was again another sign of their misuse of their power and authority, regrettably, with a racial tinge added on top.
Carl, when Tyreek Hill says, I wanted to keep my window up because the people who were driving by were trying to take photos of me, and I didn't want those photos out there, what do you say to that?
He was speeding.
Right.
He was violating the law. And his obligations were to the officer who was then, now I don't know, Stugotz, why there had to be three cops that were there on motorcycles. It wasn't that big of a deal. Give me a break.
Right. They're working the Dolphin game, just so you know. They're working the Dolphin game, working at that spot. I've seen them there before.
Fair enough. But he violated the law, man. And so you have to accept the consequences of the circumstances of your own actions. When the cop, when he says, stop banging on my window, that was a jerk move, I thought. He didn't have to say that because clearly there had to be some interchange, some conversation to make sure he's not intoxicated. If he's driving recklessly and speeding, that might create a danger. But at the same time, the exercise of power that the cop exerted, to me, was excessive. His suspension was appropriate. I doubt that he will be fired. I'm not sure that Tyreek really needs to file a lawsuit because he has garnered the goodwill of most of America on his side. It's not unusual that the police union would back their cops. They do so in every instance. That's what they're there for. Just like the Player Association would probably back Tyreek. But certainly both sides could have reacted and responded differently. And I think the result would have been different.
Carl, explain to people why the cops want your window to be down, especially a tinted window. They're afraid that they don't know who this person is yet. They should have known. They didn't know who he was. I'm assuming they're afraid that he's going for a weapon, right?
In most states, Stugotz, the driver's window cannot be blackened because it creates a risk and danger to police officers. Every police officer has a story that they've been told of a seemingly innocent traffic stop turning deadly. Cops will say the most important thing that you have to do when you approach a car is to watch the person's hands. That's why you're always trained and told to keep your hands on the steering wheel, to not reach for the glove compartment until the cop gets there, because the ability to see the hands is the source of danger or safety to a police officer. So if the windows that are blackened are up and the cop is not able to see while he's writing a ticket or being distracted, he is in a position of vulnerability that is not in his best interest. So I understand his acceptance or his insistence that the driver roll the window down while I'm talking to you.
What'd you make of if you watch the entire video there, one cop realizes, this is Tyreek Hill. This is one of the Dolphins' best players, and someone just yells out, because they knew that they were going to get dragged. The cops knew they were about to get dragged, and that seems to me, if they knew it was Tyreek Hill, they would have just let him go on his way and get to the game, which doesn't sit well with a lot of people either, Carl.
That is, for better or for worse, Stugotz, a reality of life in America. Celebrities, athletes get better seats at restaurants. They do get treated differently. It is fundamentally unfair. I suspect if the first officer had realized, because he had run the plates, for example, and before reaching the front window realized Tyreek Hill was right there, right outside the stadium, and recognized him, he was, hey man, Tyreek, come on, man, take it easy, slow down, you're being a risk, and let him go on into the game. So certainly, and that would have been, while unfair, a consequence, which is a benefit of celebrity, just like if he had seen that J-Lo was driving that car recklessly, he probably would not have given J-Lo a ticket and let her go on her way because he had that kind of discretion. Right. However, because Tyreek had an attitude about tapping my window and he was not subservient or sufficiently respectful to the authority of the badge, that will annoy a cop as soon or as quick as anything.
Carl, if you were advising Tyreek, you'd tell him, let's just end it here?
Yeah. Certainly, it is distressing to be pulled from the car, to be placed on the ground, to be handcuffed, to be forced down and forced into a seated position. That is indeed a distressful event. But for Tyreek Hill, on balance, he'll be able to squeeze whatever goodwill he'll be able or seek to squeeze from this consequence.
And he needs it. Yep.
And he needs it.
Yep.
More than he needs the money or any money, or more than he needs to have himself draped in a formal lawsuit. Because clearly, for the most part, I think, Stugotz, the winds of public opinion are in his favor.
Yes.
The officer has been immediately put on leave, which basically suggests that someone recognizes he overreacted. So Tyreek is probably going to enjoy the best goodwill, and I think his goodwill would be enhanced were he choosing to not sue and say, I love the cops. I want to be a cop. There are some bad apples. I hope he learns from this experience. Let's go on and let's win Dolphins.
Right. It's hard to do that. You can't do that. And he's trying to do that while saying the officer should be fired. Like, that doesn't.
That's Drew talking, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
That's Drew trying to keep the.
So what if Tyreek says to you, Carl, I'm not looking for your opinion here. I'm looking for you to represent me. Would you take this case, and how would you try in a minute, right?
In a New York minute.
Right, of course, yes.
Of course, it's Tyreek Hill. Are you kidding me?
Right.
He is wrong.
Right. No, okay, so how would you go about that case? Like, how would you try it?
Well, first, it would never be tried. You only try your tough cases, Stugotz. This one, the video says it all.
Right.
Just because I'm a jerk doesn't mean I'm a threat to anybody with 3 officers standing there with their hands on their guns. They reacted because he was an uppity young black kid with too much money driving a fancy car who broke the law. But the consequence breaking the law is still the presumption of innocence. You don't pull me out of the car because I don't roll my window down. That is excessive.
See, Carl, that's the problem. Carl, that's the problem for me, because we've all been pulled over, right? We're in a rush to get somewhere, and that's the reason we're speeding probably in the first place, okay? Why can't they? So, and a cop's job is to de-escalate these situations. He's approaching your car. You're already nervous. You're in a rush. You know you're getting a ticket. Why can't the conversation simply be, hey, I was speeding, busted, you got me. Give me the ticket. Let me move on with my day.
Because I've been a cop for 25 years, Stugotz.
Yeah.
And when I say jump, you ask me how high. You don't say I don't want to jump.
Right.
I've been a cop with a gun. What I like are other cops and guns. I don't like a young black kid floyding my authority, telling me to just do my job so I can get on with it, trying to talk down to me, refusing to follow my commands when I am the epitome of authority in this moment. So I'm going to teach you, young black kid, a lesson. I'm not going to take this gruff from you like this. I'm going to show you who's the boss. He said it. When I tell you jump, you better jump. Don't ask me why I should be jumping. And regrettably, that is all too often the thoughts, the feelings, and the attitudes of middle-aged, 20-year-plus police officers who are not prepared to adjust to the new realities that are preferable for policing, where de-escalation should be on your first mind and not the imposition of your authority. And that's the problem, Stugotz. 25-year-old cop, he's been doing it the same way for 24 of those years.
Right. It's so funny. You read the cop, Billy, he's a DJ part-time?
No.
It's so Miami. It's great. It's
trying to make some scratch.
By the way, Billy would love if the kicker for the Dolphins got pulled over. He would want him thrown in jail and throw away the key. I mean, you know, like
he's on my fantasy team. I love that guy.
You love Jason Sanders. You can't love Jason. If he's on your fantasy team, you don't love him, Carl.
Wait, Carl. So you would take the case. It would never get to court. You would play it out. How much money would Tyreek be getting? How did that work out? How would that work out?
Stugotz in sportscasting, 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
Billy, and your mic work, 2 + 2 is 4. In law, 2 + 2 is somewhere between 3 and 5. It depends. Everything in law is it depends. Here, it is clear, I believe, that the officer used excessive force. There has to be some time for the investigation to take its course. He's not going to be fired. He is being disciplined. Tyreek is going to claim that he's been injured, but the injury is not going to be severe. The embarrassment, the inconvenience, the emotional distress of what happened could clearly be valued at $100,000 or more. And for Tyreek, who knows how much more would be paid to make it go away. Because it's not good for the Miami Police Department to have this cloud over its head. Tyreek is a beloved figure in South Florida, I assume, and he would not want to continue too much to have this hanging over his season because it would be a distraction, I think.
Right.
But certainly, there is a number that both sides would agree to. It would be resolved, I think, sooner than later, in my opinion.
Look at that smile on his face because he's thinking about the amount of money he would pocket. I mean, I love it. You know what? You're a gem, Carl. I fucking love you. I do.
Hey, thank you, Stugotz. Man, we go back for a long time. It's always a pleasure being with you and your guys.